Hi everyone. This briefing session aims to give a quick general introduction to EuroDIG's topic number 2, Internet Fragmentation. The video will also include brief snapshots of some of the speakers that will give their condensed perspectives on the matter. In general, it can be said that Internet fragmentation and its synonyms encapsulate the idea that the Internet may be in danger of splitting into a series of cyberspace segments, thus endangering its connectivity and interoperability. The working definitions proposed generally categorize internet fragmentation in 3 forms. First, technical fragmentation, which are conditions in the underlying infrastructure that impede the ability of systems to fully interoperate and exchange data packets, and, therefore, of the Internet to function consistently at all endpoints. Then we have commercial fragmentation, or of the user experience, in which business practices constrain or prevent certain uses of the Internet to create, distribute, or access information resources. And finally, we have governmental fragmentation, which are government policies and actions that constrain or prevent certain uses of the Internet to create, distribute, or access information resources. This is the summarized framework used by the Policy Network on Internet Fragmentation in its report.
Hi, I'm Sheetal Kumar, and I am Head of Global Engagement and Advocacy at Global Partners Digital. So we're a human rights organization, and that's why we care about Internet fragmentation. An open, interconnected, interoperable global Internet is critical for human rights to be enjoyed in the digital age and promoted and protected. So that's why we are committed to doing that. And we see the threats to an open Internet coming from a variety of sources, from various attempts to undermine a multi-stakeholder approach to developing and evolving the Internet through standards and protocols. And I think that, there's lots of different views of what Internet fragmentation means. And the Policy Network on Internet Fragmentation that I co-facilitate at the IGF has outlined a framework for understanding it. But generally what we're seeing is a concern about access and control of information flows, moving away from people and from users, and from a more democratic and decentralized way of addressing that to something more centralized.
What Sheetal said was actually really good, because it highlighted the fact that there's so many different aspects of fragmentation. And as somebody who actually sort of had really grown up with the network, I've been involved with the network for 35 years and always assumed it was a global network. And then sort of when you start to notice it's getting less and less global, you get very worried. And there's a technical aspect where sort of somebody cuts connectivity or blocks something, which is in a way easier to deal with because you can see it and deal with it. The much more subtle one is the one where you kind of get a slightly different picture of the network depending on where you are. And it's hard to actually realize what's going on. And that's kind of right now my biggest concern.
Hi, I'm Vittorio Bertola. I'm the head of policy at Open Exchange, a German open source software maker, and I'm a long-time participant in intergovernance discussions. I think that internet fragmentation is everything and nothing at the same time. It started as a very simple concept. I mean, the original idea of the internet is that it is the interconnection of many networks using the same protocol. And so the initial concept of fragmentation was that you should not detach any of these networks or break the connectivity of parts of the network and make it impossible to transmit bits from one end to the other. But then other parties started to argue that more things were also part of fragmentation, and so this became more complex. So while we have no doubt that internet fragmentation at the technical level is a problem, and so that also includes fragmentation of the governance frameworks, so of the technical resources that are necessary to keep the internet together, like domain names or IP addresses. And so there are proposals to create more institutions that would take the ownership for parts of what is being done by global institutions now, and that would indeed damage the internet. I think that fragmentation of the user experience by governments should really be evaluated case by case. I mean, governments have the right to make national laws to protect their citizens and to exert their sovereignty, and sometimes they do it in a positive way to actually protect their citizens. Sometimes they do it in a bad way to actually attack their citizens.
If the internet gets fragmented, access to resources, access to websites or platforms and services will depend on who and where we are. Let's acknowledge that a shattered internet is not the internet anymore. The internet, the real internet, creates opportunities and is a great force for good. It is valuable and it is meaningful to people when it is open, global, reliable, and resilient. I hope the debate at EuroDIG this year will bring ideas and proposals to ensure it remains available for everyone.